Honey Sue, and I love applique. In this video, I'm going to share with you one of the techniques of my quick prep applique. I'm going to show you how to use Glad Press and Seal for our applique. This technique begins with the pattern. If your pattern needs to be reversed, now is the time to do it. You'll also need your background fabric. In this case, I've chosen a light blue background, and the pattern calls for a frame around the center design. I have already appliqued that frame in place for this example. You'll need your Glad Press and Seal. This can be purchased at most grocery stores. You'll need an inexpensive pen. I say inexpensive because I have found that the ink in an inexpensive pen, the kind that are handed out as promotionals, usually is smudge proof. Give it a try. Test it out. Take a small piece of Glad Press and Seal, scribble on it, give it 5 minutes to dry. If after 5 minutes you can take and run your thumb over it and it doesn't smudge, you're good to go. If it does, keep looking. There are pens around with ink that is smudge proof, and that's what you will need. I find a straight edge very handy for marking grain line. The easiest way to get a straight line is with a straight edge, so I often use those. You will also need a rotary cutter, a rotary ruler, and a rotary mat in order to prepare your Glad Press and Seal. The first step in this technique is to prepare the Glad Press and Seal. I like to take and actually lay it down on my cutting mat. It just helps hold it in position so it doesn't get wrinkled. I then cut it off. I don't tear it, and that way it, oopsie, I'll get her done right. There we go. The first thing you'll notice about this, that it actually has a salvage edge. It wrinkles along this edge, and we need to cut that off to prevent that wrinkling. So we'll take our rotary ruler and just cut all the way across there and get rid of the salvage. Now it may want to pull up. You just very carefully lift it up. We'll come down here and we're going to do the same thing on the bottom edge here, or in your case, looking at it, it'll be the top. And we'll take and lift that up and pull that off of there so that we are left with a nice, smooth, flat piece. Let me get that there. There we go. A nice, smooth, flat piece of Glad Press and Seal. You'll notice that that is not as wide as our block. It's only half of it. That means we're going to have to prepare a second piece and put the two together in order to get a large enough piece of Glad Press and Seal. So I'm going to take and lay this down. I'll take and cut it off here. Oopsie. There we go. Set that one aside. Do the same with this. We will need to take and, oops, you got a little wrinkle in it there. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and cut off the salvage edge. Okay, now this next part, lifting it off, can be a little problematic, so do it very carefully. There we go. And come down here and we'll cut the salvage off of this end as well. All right, having removed the salvage on both edges, we can then take the second piece and overlap it just a little bit, maybe an inch or so. And we will have created a piece of Glad Press and Seal. that is as big, oopsie, as our pattern. You can see it'll fit on here now. It goes from here to here. We are now ready to place our Glad press and seal on top of our pattern. We'll begin by very carefully lifting one side of the Glad press and seal and pulling it back. We'll place our pattern underneath it and then very carefully spread the Glad press and seal out over the top of our pattern. This way we get very, very few wrinkles in our Glad press and seal. We're now ready to begin the process of tracing. I like to begin in the very center and work my way out slowly until I get to the outside edge. So I'm going to come in and trace directly on top of my lines that I can see very clearly on the pattern underneath the Glad press and seal. It helps sometimes to hold your fingers in such a way that it holds the glass press and seal in place while you work on it. To do this, I like to place the part that I'm tracing between my thumb and first finger, and that kind of holds it in place as I trace. As you are tracing, you may reach a spot where you need to place your hand over a section that has already been traced. If it hasn't had enough time to dry and cure, it's still possible to maybe smudge it a little. So I like to take and place a piece of paper between the area that I've already traced and my hand. Then I can continue tracing, and I don't have to worry about smearing. Having completed the tracing, I will allow it to sit and cure for a half hour or so. The final step is to remove the Glad press and seal from the pattern and place it on the back side or the wrong side of our background fabric. So we'll very carefully lift a corner and peel it back. There we go, and you can kind of see it now really well. I line up any registration marks. In this case, it is the scalloped frame around the outside edge. I'm going to place that in place and smooth this out. And it's all set to go. I'm now ready to applique using the backbasting method of choice. In this case, I'll be using the backbasting method that I do with my quick prep applique. One thing to note, as you work with this and stitch, be sure you stitch directly through the Glad press and seal. This means you will be perforating that Glad press and seal between 8 and 16 times per inch. This will allow you to very easily remove it when you are done with your applique. There are two additional points I would like to make. First of all, as you work with this and have the Glad press and seal in your hand, it's going to feel a little funny. Don't be put off by that. You'll very, very quickly become used to it. Secondly, be sure you leave that Glad press and seal on your background until the entire pattern has been stitched. If you remove it too soon, you'll be removing the pattern, and we sure don't want to do that. Finally, a couple of observations. First of all, this method, that is using Glad Press and Seal, is a very clean method for our blocks. When we are done and have peeled off the last of the Glad Press and Seal, we will not have a mark, neither a pencil mark nor a pen mark, on either the applique fabric nor on the background fabric. It's fantastic. And the final observation is this. This method is great on any type of fabric. You can use it on a very light colored fabric, such as a white, where you don't want to have a pencil mark on your block. Or you can use it on a very, very dark fabric, such as the rich blacks or browns or burgundies that we have today. Normally, or traditionally, for the backbasting method, we would not be able to use it with these dark, rich colors because we wouldn't be able to see the pencil mark. Because of the shininess of the Glad Press and Seal, the pencil marks show up very nicely. So we can use it on even the very darkest of dark fabrics. It makes it a very, very universal technique that is great in just about every situation. The pattern that was used as a demo in today's video is called Fern's Hands. It is available free of charge to you in the files section of my Facebook page, which is called Apple Blossom Quilts Group. Be sure to add that group to the end. You will also find other free patterns there, as well as lessons that teach you my quick prep applique method.